Hello everyone. Welcome to Indian Economy by Aman Soni. In today's news hour, we shall be discussing the economic related current affairs from the Hindu. In page 1, there is no news related to economy. So let's directly skip to the editorial page. Here we have one article related to economy on the food processing topic. Unlock India's food processing potential. This article talks about how the growing population in the world leads to more demand for food in the future and how countries should go for an efficient food value chain. Let's to the details. It says that by 2050, the world will be facing around 10 billion population, and feeding that huge population is a big challenge that demands certain changes. And what are those changes? We can't be doing the same type of production that we are doing to meet the increased demand. We'll have to go for efficient ways of production which are economically viable and also ecologically sustainable. For this to happen, we need emerging technologies that change the way we do farming, the change the traditional approach of farm to fork approach, how the goods go from the farm to the fork of the consumer. The entire value system needs to be revamped. And he suggests a scheme where previously the Indian government had launched a production linked incentive scheme in the food processing sector, where government would give incentives for those who are investing into ready to eat food segment, processed meat in the food processing. The author says that the scheme has earmarked around 10,900 crore for production linked incentives to the manufacturers, and almost 60 applicants have been received. And he cites the example of USA, where even a 1% increase in the public infrastructure will lead to food manufacturing output increased by 0.06 percentage. And he says that for the Indian vegetable and fruit industry, the main problem is the phytosanitary measures in the export market. And for that, the production linked incentive scheme has a category where the government would support the branding and marketing activities in the foreign market. He says that this solves the problem of branding and marketing for exports. And because of the geography of India, we are placed in a unique situation where we are proximity to the other markets which are untapped, like the European market, whether the African market, the Middle East market can be utilized by the Indian food processing industry. After that, the author goes into the problems that the industry faces, and one of the main problems that any industry faces is easy access to credit. And he says how the demand for the food processing ready to eat products are increasing during the COVID. Because people are working from home, they need more ready to eat products, and that segment saw almost a 170% increase in sales volume between March and June 2020. And the pandemic also has increased consumers awareness about food, and their eating habits have changed towards healthy diet. This says that it will lead to the starting up of new health oriented food ventures and microprocessing units. And to ease the access of credit of the customers, he says that the trade discounting system, where people are already using, the MSMEs have been using the discounting bills for raising credit, have to be integrated with the GST system so that there will be ease of credit. Discounting trade receivables is nothing but when you sell goods on credit to someone, they give a bill, credit note, saying that I am supposed to pay you so and so by so these many months. Suppose I have a bill saying that Mr. X is going to be paying me 1,000 crores after 3 months, but I need the cash now. What I'll do? I'll go to State Bank of India. I'll sell them the bill, the export bill, for 900 crores. They'll have a discount of 100 crores for the 3 months wait period. But I'll be happy with that because I'll get 900 crore cash currently. I need not wait for 3 more months. This is about discounting of trade bills. Finally, the author says that we need to go for sustainable food ecosystem wherein the growing population, the changing food habits, and the unrestricted use of natural resources is changing the way we produce. So what we have to do, nations have to come together and we find a common efficient value system instead of duplicating efforts. For that we need to focus on new forms like the nutri cereals, plant-based protein instead of meat, fermented food, health bars, fortified foods, so that in future when the demand for food increases because of the rising population, the world as a whole would be easily able to meet the demand. That's about this article. Taxing drama. This article is about the Crane Energy Arbitration Award and the settlement that they went to the government. Let's go to the backstory. Actually, what happened was in 2012 budget, we got a new scheme where we were to tax some activities, some exchange of shares retroactively. That means in 2020 that law didn't exist, but we said that law is going to get applied previously from 2010. What Crane Energy had done, for example, in between this law came, it had exchanged the subsidiary shares of its Indian companies in a foreign market through its another subsidiaries. So the Indian government said, you have avoided paying taxes because you have done it outside the tax laws, so you have to pay it retrospectively. But what the Crane Energy said, they said, when we did this transaction, you didn't have any law taxing those activities, and we are right in doing that. But the government seized the assets of Crane Energy, sold some of them, and realized its tax, because of which the Crane Energy went for international arbitration, wherein the arbitration court said it is wrong on India to impose the taxes retrospectively and retroactively, which means from a previous time when the law didn't exist, and whatever Crane Energy acted, it acted based on the current laws on that particular time, so it is right. And it imposed a fine of 1.2 billion on the Indian government, and if the Indian government fails to pay these damages, they were to seize the foreign assets of Indian government. And finally the Crane Energy and the Indian government have gone for a settlement, wherein the Crane Energy has accepted to take a settlement offer and drop all the cases against the Indian government, and the government will refund the tax amount that it has collected from the Crane Energy Limited. Similar case happened with Vodafone Limited, where the Supreme Court ruled that the taxes that are being imposed retrospectively is wrong. So this article suggests here that doing such type of retrospective taxation will dent the image of India as a destination for investment. We should have policy certainty in economics so that the investor knows what we are getting into. If we are going to keep changing the policy, the credentials of an country as an investment destination would be affected. And there is no news related to economy in news section. Let's directly move to the business page. Here we have oil rises toward $89 billion. See, during the pandemic, two things happened. The tensions between Russia and Ukraine, and tensions in West Asia. The Houthi rebels had bombed the Aramco facility previously. Recently, they attacked the infrastructure facility in UAE. So, this will affect the oil supply. Now, because of the rising tension between Russia and Ukraine, the oil production has reduced. What happens when the production has reduced? The demand for it is the same, but the production has reduced. The supply is reduced, so the price will increase. The supply as oil has reduced, but the demand is same, or the demand is even increasing because slowly markets are opening up, productions are starting, manufacturing is starting. So the price of the Brent crude increased to almost 89 per dollar, $89 per barrel, and this is like 7-year high. That's about this article. It basically says because of the reduced supply and increasing tensions, the dollar price has increased. And what would be this effect on Indian economy? When the input price is high, here the input oil that we are going to use for manufacturing and everything, for logistics we need petrol and diesel. When the input cost increases, ultimately the price of the goods and services increases. This will lead to inflation in the economy. So too much rise in oil prices is bad for the economy. Another article being India probes China, Vietnam over dumping of tiles. What is anti-dumping? Before discussing anti-dumping, let's talk what is dumping. When a country is exporting goods to another country and that country or that seller sells it at a price lesser than the domestic market price of their own country, that is called dumping. Take an example, China and India. A seller in China has a toy of rupees 100, but he sells it to Indian market at rupees 30. The domestic price of that toy in Indian market is rupees 60, but the same seller is selling the same toy for rupees 100 in China, but he is dumping at rupees 30 in India, so that his demand will increase in India, the demand for his products will increase in India, and nobody purchases from the domestic manufacturers in India because of the price difference. And this unfair, unethical practice of trade is called dumping. And what is anti-dumping? Under the WTO, after an inquiry, if you can prove that the other country or the exporters from other country are indulging in dumping of goods, our country can impose a duty called anti-dumping duty, which will be the difference between this price and this domestic market price. Here the domestic market price of the toy is 60, China is dumping at rupees 30, so the Indian government will impose an anti-dumping duty of 30 rupees, so that the final cost of this Chinese product also becomes 60 and it is fair for everyone. Now everyone gets equal opportunity for a fair fight in the market. So the Commerce Ministry's Director General of Trade Remedies investigates, and finally it is the Finance Ministry that issues a notification of how much dumping duty is going to be levied on what good. That's about this article, and you just need to read the heading of this, that coal expenditure has risen in central public sector units. You don't need to read this Vedanta's news. No need to read this. Again, no need to read this. Just read the headlines. Those are the economist articles in today's newspaper. Thank you so much.